Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we explore the stories, experience, and challenges that shape who we have become. Today's guest is Craig Meriwether, a clinical hypnotherapist and medical hypnosis specialist who help people heal anxiety, trauma, and fear by working with the subconscious mind. It's really a pleasure having you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This is really quick. We just met like a week ago, and here we are talking to each other. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you having me on.
amazing. Thank you. So, Craig, what were some of the experience or challenges that shape you into who you have become today?
Oh, well, probably the biggest aspect of my life that got me to where I am today. I'm heading towards 59 years old here in a few months. But the depression and anxiety I've struggled with a lot of my life. And really, the anxiety, the depression really started in my teenage years. And this is the 1980s. This is 1985. So there's no internet. Even like medications like Prozac and those kind of antidepressant medications that didn't come out till the late 1990s. So that was about 12 years away. And so when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, it's not like you're going to really advocate for yourself. It's just like I felt depressed and anxious. I guess that's how everybody felt. Back in the 80s, you had books, whatever book you might find at the bookstore or the library about dealing with depression and anxiety. It's whatever talk therapist you might find. You remember, maybe not, maybe I might be too young. We had the phone book, the yellow pages, and you just flip the pages trying to find somebody's phone number. If you wanted to find a talk therapist, a psychotherapist, but you're 14, 15, you're not going to start looking for a talk therapist. So I just kind of struggled with it. And in the 1990s, I don't know if you know who Tony Robbins is, but it's like the personal growth movement, the self-help movement. Oprah was on TV, and lots of people were talking about just becoming the best version you can be, and here's some techniques to do it. Then the internet started coming out in the late 90s, and we could talk to people around the world. We could get in forums and discussion groups and blog posts of people writing about their wisdom and their knowledge of stuff. And then the antidepressants came out, Prozac and those kind of things. So this discussion of depression was open. They were talking about it on shows, on the radio, and on talk shows, in books. And it was okay to tell people that you were to struggle with depression. And so one of the things people started mentioning was hypnotherapy. And part of that was, the ability to tap into the power of your own subconscious mind to create healing. And that's the big foundation of the work of hypnotherapy, which is really just umbrella term for a lot of different techniques and tools you can use to help access your own healing power. And so I started using that in my life. And so this has been like, a slow drip from being a teenager to being almost 60 years old. And as I dealt with the depression and I learned more about it, I wrote my own book about it called Depression 180. That came out along 15 years ago or so. And as I learned more about it and just worked with hypnotherapy, I wanted to learn more about consciousness and healing. And so I trained to become a hypnotherapist. It just was fascinating to me. And now here I am talking to you. It's been I know that was like, 5 minutes to explain kind of 60 years of my life, but it's just through my own healing and wanting to be better, to be happy, that I've ended up learning to train to do this work to help other people.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for what you do today. Yeah, it's really amazing. So there are many misconceptions about hypnosis. What are some of the biggest myths people still believe?
Yeah, that's really unfortunate because of TV and movies, there's a lot of myths about what hypnosis is, therapeutic hypnosis is. People have the pocket watch and they swing and go to sleep and all that. And it's unfortunate because it's such wonderful techniques and tools to really help you, because it's not brainwashing. It's not mind control. In fact, it's giving you back control. A lot of people are already out of control because they're feeling anxious a lot. They're feeling stressed. They're feeling angry. And it may be just happening unconsciously. They're already out of control. So what hypnotherapy actually does is give you back control of your nervous system. If somebody is struggling with some hurt or pain or some trauma they experienced, it was last month or 50 years ago, the subconscious mind is holding on to that to protect you. Well, you're allowed to heal and find resolution to that. And so the thing with movies, you can't just hypnotize somebody like Jason Bourne or James Bond or somebody and just hypnotize them to go assassinate the prime minister, rob a bank. It's not the way that works. It doesn't work that you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. So, like, one of the things that hypnosis is famous for is to help people quit smoking cigarettes. Well, I just can't make people quit smoking. I just can't walk up to strangers on the street and swing my pocket watch and tap them on the head with a magic wand. And I can't go into casinos and bars and just make people quit smoking. You'll quit smoking if you want to. And these are some great tools and techniques to help you get to that point. But if you don't want to quit, maybe your wife or your husband made the appointment because they're concerned about your health and the smell, and you're smoking cigars, and it's like, enough of that. Well, if you don't want to stop smoking, if you want to stop smoking your cigars, well, maybe you'll smoke in the garage or outside, or with your friends at the bar or something. You'll find a way to negotiate. Say, well, I tried hypnotherapy and it didn't work. It's like, well, yeah, because you're in control of it. And if I could do that thing, you better believe I'd be hypnotizing billionaires to write me $1 billion checks.
Yeah.
Just write me $1 billion check. All right. That's not a thing. You can't make people do anything they don't want to do. And so if you want to quit smoking, if you want to create healing around that hurt and pain, you're allowed to do that. Now, some people, they bring up those shows like here in America, like in Las Vegas or comedy clubs, there'll be a hypnotist show, and they'll come up and do funny things. They'll dance like Michael Jackson, or they'll sing like Elvis Presley, or they'll cluck like chickens or bark like dogs, or whatever they're doing, dance the ballet. Every person that gets up on a stage to do that silly show volunteered to get up there. You can't make somebody go up. Even if, let's say they lost a bet. It's like, well, if you lose this bet, you're going to have to go up and do the show. It's like, they're not going to want to do that, and they're going to be excused because they're not going to do a good show. They're going to have stage fright. There's going to be lights and cameras, and everybody's going to have their phone out, and they're like, I don't want to do this. They're not going to be a good candidate to do the show. And the person running that show, the hypnotist running that show, they're going to pick people who are excited to do the show, jumping up, pick me, because they want to do the show. They want to be silly. They want to have a funny video to put on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, TikTok, and they all have a big smile on their face. They want to be star of the show. They want to have a good time. And they do. They have a great time. And so the unfortunateness of movies and the comedy shows and things is that it gives the impression that you can just go up to people and make them do stuff, and you can't. There's these videos on YouTube of people on the street, like doing street hypnosis, and they walk up to people and they go, sleep, and there's people, keel over.
Yeah.
They made that up. They practiced that for a week. They're not strangers, they're friends. And they're just trying to get a viral video to promote their business or their book or their program or whatever, or just to get views. You can't make, I don't dare anybody to do this because I don't want you to do this, but think about logically what's going to happen if you walk up to a total stranger. If I just saw you on the street and I went up to you and I said, sleep, you're going to put me in the face.
Yeah, I'm going to put you.
I look like an insane person. Sleep. That's not a thing. You can't make people do that. And so this becomes very encouraging and very empowering, because what if you did want to create healing? Now, there's some people who say, I can't be hypnotized. I tried once. Someone tried to hypnotize me and I couldn't be hypnotized. Yeah, that proves the control you have, because you didn't want to be hypnotized in that situation. You didn't feel comfortable. You didn't feel safe. Maybe with the person or the office or maybe it was at a school or something. You didn't feel comfortable, therefore you did not let your armor down. Good for you. You didn't feel comfortable. You kept yourself safe. But understand that you can do this anytime you want. It's just brainwave state. It's just, if you're at a meeting at work, maybe you're back in school. Remember school, math class or something, and your mind drifts away. Maybe you're watching TV at home and your mind drifts off. Oh, I got my friend's coming over this weekend. I got to get to the store because if I'm going to cook, I'm going to need this. You start thinking about something else. Your mind floats away. You get bored at work or you get bored watching TV. You've just hypnotized yourself. You just altered your state of consciousness. And, the basic biology, very, very basic biology of it is moving from the beta brainwave state to the alpha brainwave state. We've heard about these brainwave states, beta, alpha, theta, delta. And it's just consciousness, whether you're in a daydreamy state or kind of that hazy, not asleep, not awake, and then sleep, delta being sleep. We move in and out of this all day long. And so hypnosis is that alpha, theta brainwave states, even delta is considered the hypnagogic trance state, those three states. We move in and out of those all day long, at least twice a day when you fall asleep and you wake up. But I'm going to guess at some point during your waking time, your mind's going to drift off and your mind's going to float away. That's hypnosis. You can do it. It's just like you're at work, you're bored, you felt safe, your mind's going to drift off thinking about whatever's happening in the week, maybe that trip you took, last year or something. So it's really, everybody can do this. And it's not about taking away control, it's about giving you back control. And the greatest example of this is like, well, I wasn't able to be hypnotized. Great, you have control then, don't you?
Yes.
And when you feel comfortable and you're working with somebody you feel comfortable with and you're ready to do that healing work. And maybe that was the other part of the problem is you weren't ready. You didn't feel ready in your heart to do the healing works. That wasn't the right time for you.
Yeah.
But if you're interested, you're curious, you're listening to this podcast, you want to find out more, well, maybe you're ready to do the healing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Al. This is really amazing. So you often talk about the subconscious mind. How does it influence our behavior, emotion, and even physical health?
Yeah. And of course, really quickly, we're going to talk for half an hour. People get their doctorate in psychology and it takes them 10 years. But in terms of a basic understanding of the subconscious mind, that's that part of mind that's running the show. Mind, body, spirit. Example, you don't have to think about digesting your food. You just digest your food. You don't think about beating your heart. You just beat your heart. Your immune system. Get a virus, the common cold, your immune system is going to take care of it. If somebody, cuts their finger, again, you don't have to think about it. Your subconscious mind is going to send the emergency aid to your finger to heal it. And if you get a cut on the index finger of your left hand, it doesn't send it to the pinky finger of your right hand. It knows there's a problem here. Or a scrape on your knee, somebody, breaks their arm, breaks their leg. They know, the subconscious mind, your subconscious mind knows what the problem is and will start the healing process. I mean, taking a child, a 1-day-old baby to that of an adult, that's extraordinary growth. Not one of us has ever thought, I'd better spend some time today thinking about growing my body from being a 1-day-old baby to that of an adult. It just happens. That's the subconscious mind. It's also holding on to habits that we have, like tying our shoes, riding a bicycle, walking down the street. We don't have to think about walking down the street. We just do it. Zipping up a jacket, buttoning your shirt. You just do it. These are habits that we had to learn, but now that we've learned them, they've become automatic habits stored in the subconscious mind. But the main job of the subconscious mind is to keep us safe and protected. It's for survival, which doesn't necessarily mean your happiness or your success. It means your survival and your safety. And that survival and safety is based on instructions in your subconscious mind due to the experiences in your life. What happened yesterday, last month, 50 years ago when you were a little kid, whenever it was, your subconscious mind is storing these files, like files in a filing cabinet of all the hurt, the pain, the events and situations that have caused anger and rage and fear and worry and overwhelm. Your subconscious mind doesn't want to experience that again. That was frightening. That was traumatic. It was anger-inducing. It doesn't want to do that again. So it files it away in that filing cabinet. And if anything in your work, in your life, going through your day today, you're bringing all this information through what you see, you hear, taste, touch, smell. All this information is coming to you. It's getting filtered through that filing cabinet. And if any one of those files gets triggered, like the alarm system is like, wait a minute, this looks like that file from when I was 8 years old. And I got beat up at school. And now this is kind of feeling similar to that. The alarm systems go off. Now, in a building, somebody pulls a fire alarm, the sirens go off, the strobe lights go off. But in our bodies, the feeling states go off. So like anxiety and anger and fear, worry, overwhelm. These are warning signals from our body that there's danger in our world. So in terms of how we see the world, it's really due to kind of the hurt and the pain, the anger we've gone through. This has caused beliefs, like, is life fair or unfair? Is life safe or unsafe? Are the people around me here to protect me or to keeping me down? And so one of the issues with being a human being is the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And this is why somebody having a nightmare in the middle of the night it feels so scary. Doesn't matter how ridiculous the nightmare. It may be something super realistic, like a soldier, a veteran having a very traumatic dream about being back in combat. It'd be very traumatic. They're safe in bed. The war was 40 years ago, but it feels very realistic to them in this nightmare they're having. Or it could be something ridiculous, like cheeseburgers chasing down the street throwing coconuts at your head. It's ridiculous. It's not going to happen ever. Both situations, the person's safe and sound in bed, but their minds think they're under attack. They're in danger. They're back in combat. They're being chased by a hamburger or something. And so the stress response will turn on. Even in deep sleep, you'll have a physical response to that imaginary situation, to that dream, to that nightmare. The brain will start creating adrenaline and cortisol, dump it into your bloodstream. Your heart starts racing to get to the big muscle of your arms to fight, big muscle of your legs to escape, all because of cheeseburgers chasing down the street. So you can imagine what's happening in your waking world, in real life. And so because the subconscious mind's main job is to keep you safe and protected, it's using what you've experienced in the past to create this instruction manual on how to keep you safe, this computer code. And it's all happening automatically. So the subconscious mind is this very emotionalized part of mind that's there to keep you safe. And it's doing so by just scanning for danger due to the extraordinary events you may have experienced in the past. Again, whether it's last month or 50 years ago. Now, the conscious mind, that's the logical mind, the thinking mind, the analytical mind. It's creating your goals for life, the plans to achieve those goals. But what neuroscience says is that conscious mind only makes up 5% of mind. Subconscious mind is making up 95% of mind. So when there's conflict between the logical mind and the emotional mind wins every time. And so that's why a lot of this stuff that we're going through, the hurt and the pain, it doesn't have to make any sense. It doesn't have to be logical. You say, well, that happened when I was a little kid. That happened when I was 8 years old. It happened when I was 5 years old. Why at 40 years old, at 50 years old, does that still hurt me? Why is that? Why am I still afraid? Why am I still angry? And it doesn't have to be logical. It's information stored within your subconscious mind that is deemed it dangerous, this situation, and it doesn't want to experience it again. So what hypnotherapy can help you do is help you release that hurt and that pain. It can help resolve those issues. Now, it doesn't erase it or make it go away. It doesn't create amnesia. You don't want to create amnesia. You want to remember a hot pot on a stove will burn your hand. Remember that reaching into a fire will burn your hand. That's wisdom. That's knowledge. So you want wisdom and knowledge, but you don't need the hurt and pain anymore. And so you're allowed to resolve that, to heal that in a way that's best for you. And these techniques under the umbrella term of hypnotherapy can help you do that. Because this isn't talk therapy. We're not going to talk about it. Yeah, we're going to discuss what you want to work on and maybe some of the specifics of what the situation is. But we're not going to spend a couple of years talking about the situation. We're going to have a focus, a target of what you want to work on, which may just be anxiety. Maybe we just work on anxiety. You don't even know what it's about. That's fine. Your subconscious mind knows why you're anxious. It knows why it's turning on the anxiety knob to full blast. So maybe that's what we work on. You know what the problem is because you're the one creating it. It's not to say it was your fault. It's not to say to blame the victim or say, it was fair that it should happen. But you're the one who put that file in the filing cabinet. Again, not to say it was fair or it should have happened or to blame you, but in a situation you felt unsafe in or was traumatic. Maybe as a child, probably unconsciously, you put that file in the filing cabinet. That becomes very empowering because if you're the one who put it in there, you're the one who can take it out.
Yeah.
And so that's where therapy comes in. We're taking out the files. That's very metaphoric and an imaginative kind of way of saying it, but that's kind of what we're doing. You're recoding your mind to feel safer and more confident in your life, more courageous. And you're allowed to do that. It's your mind. So you take, again, it's that thing of taking back control. You're already out of control with the anxiety, with the anger, with the overwhelm. And maybe you just want confidence. Maybe you're an athlete and the whatever is going on, you're playing in football, you run, you swim, whatever you're doing. And you just want more confidence. You want that mind game to be, because if you get it, let's say you're swimming and you get up on that little diving platform to to do the race and you look over and it's the gold medal winner from the Olympics. What does that do to your confidence? It's like, oh God, this guy has won like 20 gold medals. What is that, Mark Phelps? What if Mark Phelps gets up next to you to swim? And it's like, oh God, Mark Phelps, he's the greatest swimmer ever. What's that going to do to your mindset? You know how to swim. You're great at swimming. That's why you're in this race. That's why they invited you to be in this race. But if in that instant, your confidence diminishes just a little bit, that may be enough to get fourth place. You were designated to be the winner, but your confidence dropped in that moment. And you've hypnotized yourself that you're not as good as this other swimmer or this other athlete, and so you didn't do as well. You literally hypnotize yourself into not getting the gold medal or whatever. Enter in your own situation. It may be a meeting at work. Maybe you're giving a presentation in front of a big audience or a small audience. Or maybe you're going for that job interview, or you're auditioning for the play or the band. Maybe you're a musician, you're auditioning. It really oftentimes comes down to mind, how you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
You're an actor. We've seen this maybe in movies and TV shows, and maybe you are an actor if you're listening to this. You go to an audition. You think, yeah, I'm going to nail this. This part was written for me. I know exactly how this part. You go in there, and there's like 20 other people who look exactly like you, who have maybe more experience than you. What is that going to do to your confidence? Maybe you are the best person for that role, but there's you see these 20 other people who look exactly like you and all have big resumes of films and TV shows and plays. And it's like, if your confidence, diminishes, then it's like, yeah, maybe you might not do so well.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Craig. I think this has really been more like a very robust lecture on this particular stuff. Yeah, it's really amazing. So lastly, there's a growing interest in a mind-body connection. How do emotion and unresolved experience show up as a physical symptom?
Yeah. Well, one of the most interesting ones, okay, maybe it's not that interesting, but something that maybe people can identify with, how about that, is irritable bowel syndrome. And not the most politest thing to talk about, but we're not at the dinner table, so I guess it's all right. But IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, you got stomach problems, got digestive problems. The main cause of irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, is hypervigilance, stress, and anxiety. And that's because when you're stressed, you're anxious, you are afraid, you move into that fight or flight stress response. And all the energy needs to be diverted to your big muscles to fight, big muscles, your legs to escape. And that's great. If, somebody's out in Alaska and they're hiking through the forest and they turn the corner, there's a big grizzly bear there, you want that stress response. You want to run away very fast. You want that heart to race, to get the blood to your legs, to your arms, to defend yourself. You're going to tunnel vision on that bear, and then you're going to tunnel vision on where you're going to run to, or what tree you're going to climb, or whatever, to get away from the grizzly bear. You want that. You're out on the town, and you think, oh, I'm going to take the shortcut through the dark alley at midnight. Maybe somebody's in there with a knife waiting to mug you. Okay, that's a great time to have that stress response. Maybe even to tell you, don't go down the dark alley at midnight. So what happens in that stress response is power is diverted away from your digestive system. There's no need to digest lunch so you have energy in 7 hours if you're in danger right now. Your immune system, the power of your immune system, there's no need to digest, or there's no need to deal with the common cold. That's tomorrow's problem. You got an illness? That's next week's problem. You are in danger right now. And you need to armor yourself and oxygen, blood, energy, fuel into these big muscles to fight or to escape in your big legs. And so that's fine here, there, maybe occasionally. But if you're constantly running that stress response and pulling the energy away from your immune system, from your digestive system, it's just going to get all wrecked because there's not enough fuel to run your digestive system. There's not enough fuel to empower your immune system to keep you well, so you get sick. A lot of people who are in chronic anxiety and stress get sick a lot because their immune system is so, that's not powerful. It's like turning down the volume knob on your stereo. It's at a 10. Well, turn it down to 2. Yeah, it's still kind of working, but it's not as loud. It's not as powerful. Well, same with your digestive system, same with your immune system. Sort of like driving your car in first gear at 80 miles an hour. Yeah, it can do it, but it's not good for your car. And so with the digestive system, it just gets wrecked, and people struggle with irritable bowel syndrome. And what research has shown, you can look this up on the internet, go to Google and look this up. University of North Carolina here in America about 35 years ago. They thought, well, if it's stress and anxiety and hypervigilance, wouldn't the cure be relaxing the body and mind? Meditation, guided visualization, recordings of hot tub, massage. What's going to help the body mind connection best to release this anxiety and therefore heal irritable bowel syndrome? And what they found is hypnotherapy works best. And that's because not only is the foundation of hypnotherapy relaxation and rest, but you're also adding in these subconscious cues to heal the digestive system. And as you train the body over some weeks, this again, not a magic fix, but as you train the body over weeks to relax and rest and be calm and peaceful, that energy out of the muscles goes back to the digestive system, goes back to the immune system, and the power gets turned up again because now there's fuel, now there's nutrients, there's blood, there's oxygen. The digestive system will fix itself. And there's research that shows that hypnotherapy works as well as medication within the first 2 months and works better than medication within the course of a year because the body will fix itself. The body knows how to return to homeostasis, to balance, and wants to do that. It just thinks you're in danger. Issue with being human is the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And so if you're imagining yourself, you may be in danger. You may be in an unsafe home. That's a very real experience for a lot of people. So you may be in an unsafe situation. So it's understandable why the stress response is on. Maybe a work situation that's stressful. But it's also we tend to have these issues in life that maybe happened a long time ago that are also turning on the stress response. So what hypnotherapy can help you do is like turn down the power on that stress response. And all that energy can go back to healing your body.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has really, thank you for a whole lot of insights and responsibilities. Hypnotherapy is very, very important. And the fact that the body knows how to treat itself and can return, through homeostasis too. Yeah, amazing, amazing. So Craig, from our audience who love to learn more about it, who love to reach out to you, or book a section, or reach out for any of your materials, how can they reach out to you, and where is the best platform?
Yeah, the best way is you probably find me on the internet. I'm in the United States. I live in Arizona, and so I called my practice Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy. But I work with people around America, around the world. I've in the last few years, I worked with a professional basketball player in Iceland. I work with somebody who happened to be in Tahiti. I work with somebody in Puerto Rico and Costa Rica and Bulgaria. So I work with someone in South Africa. I think it was actually just an interview I did. But, because of this technology that we're using right now, we're able to do this work anywhere, anytime, basically. And so if you're curious, best way might just be going to Google and typing in Flagstaff. That's the name of the town I live in, Flagstaff Hypnosis. And then you'll see Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy come up, because I know that's a mouthful. That's a lot to spell. But or just put in Craig Meriwether. I'm sure I'll show up somewhere. But yeah, happy to talk with anybody. If you have email, or we'll get on a Zoom call or something, and we can chat about what you'd like to work on.
Thank you so much, Craig. Definitely the link is to the show notes for my audience to easily reach out. Yeah, thank you. You just remind us that real change often starts beneath the surface. And by understanding the subconscious mind, we can begin to heal, grow, and take back our life. Yeah, it's really a pleasure and honor have you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me, and I'm so glad we got a chance to talk so quickly.